Now a change to the advertised programme. Whatever happened to the chairman's Rolls-Royce will be shown on the 9th of November. In its place, we are now able to show Tony Parsons' critique of the film A Clockwork Orange, postponed from the 5th of October. Viewers may find some scenes disturbing.
What's it to be then, eh? Is the Malenki tale that we're about to tell about how every Malchik has the like choice between good and evil? Or is our story, my little droogs, about how good it sometimes feels to be bad? This we know for sure. 20 years ago, a starry, though celebrated Vec called Mr. Stanley Kubrick decided that a certain film was to be withdrawn from the old cine and hid away and like never shown again. And so, of course, it's like dark legend grew and grew, so that even now good folk tremble when they hear the name, A Clockwork Orange. All over Europe, A Clockwork Orange is considered an art house classic. Here in Paris, it's shown daily, yet showing it in Britain is a criminal offence. Stanley Kubrick ordered Warner Brothers to withdraw the film, but only in Britain. A Clockwork Orange had been running in London's West End for 61 weeks when the director pulled the plug. 20 years later, this ultimate underground film still lives on, shrouded in myth and mystery. A byword for contemporary violence. Orange mécanique, s'il vous plaît. Une place, oui. But never has a work conceived with such noble intentions been greeted with such relish by the boys in the back row. Oh, there are thousands of films more violent than A Clockwork Orange. It's always been suspected that Kubrick's film touches parts of the British teenager's tribal soul that other films just can't reach. Britain and A Clockwork Orange have a very special relationship. When people talk of A Clockwork Orange, they usually think of the mayhem in the film's first 15 minutes, when Alex and his droogs toe-chock some starry Vec and indulge in lashings of the old ultra-violence. For A Clockwork Orange is narrated in Nadsat, a brilliant combination of Cockney rhyming slang and corrupted Russian. Nadsat was devised by Anthony Burgess in his original 1962 novel to act as a screen between the reader and the horrors of the book. But, as Burgess noted, a film is not made of words.
How art thou, thou globby bottle of cheap, stinking chip oil? Come and get one in the yarbles! If you have any yarbles, you eunuch jelly thou! Let's get it, boys!
Very few intellectual works say violence is pleasurable, violence is exciting, violence is intensely gratifying as almost anything else you could ever experience in your life. It's up there with the extremes of pornography, the extremes of sexual experience, the extremes of religious ecstasy. It's an absolute moment of absolute intensity. And very few people are saying that. And the film says that to the extent that it's prepared to celebrate it.
The film is about how good it feels to be bad. That's undeniable. A great vitality of Malcolm McDowell's performance comes from that swaggering, bantering, flamboyant language, the jet stream of Nadsat dialect that Anthony Burgess invented. It has a swagger of a Shakespearean hero about it, like Mercutio. At the same time, it has the enjoyment in evil that Milton invested in the devil.
A Clockwork Orange was conceived in violence. During the Second World War, Anthony Burgess's first wife, Lynn, was viciously assaulted by 4 GI deserters. The crime found its fictional echo in A Clockwork Orange's notorious rape scene. Burgess has admitted that he felt a vicarious thrill when composing Alex's reminiscences of ultraviolence and the old In-Out. I was sickened by my own excitement at setting it down, he said, and saw that Alden was right in saying that the novelist must be filthy with the filthy.
We filled around for a while with other travellers of the night, playing hogs of the road. Then we headed west. What we were after now was the old surprise visit. That was a real kick, and good for laughs and lashings of the old ultra-violent.
It's this ambivalence that makes the film artistic dynamite. The subtext that some people might actually find rape and murder fun.
The sequence where Alex and his droogs invade the home of the writer has in it the quality of an American musical. In fact, it was Malcolm McDowell who suggested to Stanley Kubrick that when he is putting the boot into Patrick McGee being held prisoner on the floor, he should do it to the strains of Singin' in the Rain. It's like a horrible version of the Soft Shoe Shuffle. So that you've got to say that this film is, in its way, as balletic and as musical as West Side Story.
Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. I'm with the rain. I've a smile on my face. I'll walk down the lane with a happy refrain, and I'm singing, just singing. In the rain, doobie-doo, 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 doobie-doo. I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
These things happen, they are part of society, they are appalling, but they exist, they shape people's thinking, they are part of our culture, and it's absolutely right in my view that film should be able to deal with them. How explicit it should deal with it is, I think, a matter of judgment. This filmmaker chose to show it in a particular way. It certainly was absolutely horrendous, but it worked.
One always finds rape is the most horrendous, absolutely. It's quite a monstrous thing to even contemplate. I think actually it was handled in the film rather well. In fact, I think that there wasn't the amount of gratuitous violence that people imagined there was. It was all in their own heads, actually. I mean, I remember with my own killing, which was, I don't really remember, that I was fighting for my life with all I had to defend myself was my little statue of Beethoven. And he was using my 3-foot phallus, but you didn't actually see my death, I don't think. I think you saw my open mouth as he was just about to finish me off.
Real violence, you hear the softness of the head when it hits the pavement. Real violence, when someone gets hit, there's a sort of smack on the skin, which is, you can almost hear the hairs of the skin. It's not loud, it's intimately physical. This is very stylized violence. It's got lots of sound effects, it's amplified, it uses a bit of feedback. Even the blood itself is quite stylized, because again, real blood, it sort of sits there on the pavement and kind of beads up. It's not pretty like the blood when they have their little slashes, or the blood that's meant to be coming out of the mouth. So it's a very stylized violence. I mean, it's violence offered up not unlike the music into which the whole violence is dropped. It's orchestrated violence. It's violence in a kind of symphonic way.
And it was like, for a moment, oh my brothers, some great bird had flown into the milk bar.
But is this love of great music evidence that little Alex has a spark of goodness waiting to be ignited? Or is it just a classy backing track for grievous bodily harm?
Because I knew what she sang. It It was a bit from The Glorious Ninth by Ludwig van.
Was A Clockwork Orange really a danger to society? Certainly a young Dutch secretary was assaulted while a gang chanted Singing in the Rain. And a Jehovah's Witness was beaten up by a gang dressed as droogs. And an old tramp was kicked to death by a 16-year-old said to be obsessed with the film. These cases can't be dismissed as mere tabloid hyperbole. Rapes and beatings were dished out as Kubrick's symphony of violence rang in the heads of the perpetrators. But whether these crimes would have been committed without the prompting of A Clockwork Orange is another question entirely.
I think it was manipulated by the press of the time and made us a bête noire, something to blame, a foreign body that could be looked at and asked to take all the ills of society on its shoulders. No other country in the world treated that way. And there are many societies that are far more violent in terms of what they see in film and television than ours.
Art has the greatest possible propaganda influence. So when people say, oh no, it can't have any influence, I mean, you have to be balmy. It's like saying advertising has no influence. It's like seeing people who see great movies about being boxers, and all the kids want to box, and they see Wimbledon, all the kids want to play tennis. And of course, any form of a stimulus like that is very, very seductive to young people.
But while Stanley Kubrick chooses to remain silent about A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess has consistently defended himself and his creation. Neither cinema nor literature can be blamed for crimes committed in its name, he wrote. If literature is to be held responsible for mayhem and murder, then the most damnable book of all is the Bible. In Alex's prison fantasy, he chooses not to love Christ, but to beat him. And it's this freedom to choose between good and evil that's at the heart of A Clockwork Orange.
I read all about the scourging and the crowning with thorns, and I could vidi myself helping in and even taking charge of the toll-chocking and the nailing in, being dressed in the height of Roman fashion.
The idea of him being like a Roman centurion beating Jesus was just part of the fun. What Alex sets out to do is to be purely an anarchist, and that's all he is. He ridicules and rejects the society in which he is part of.
In Britain, A Clockwork Orange has always been infinitely more than a morality tale or an art house classic. It touched a peculiarly resonant chord in British adolescence.
This is us, see? We're today. If you don't dig us, shoot away some square joint to the rest of the creeps. Well, why not stick around and get with it?
In the land that spawned teddy boys, mods, rockers, skinheads and punks, A Clockwork Orange seemed like a celebration of all the old teenage cults and was good enough to suggest a new one. It spoke our language. It understood that submerging yourself in a tribe turns a nobody into a somebody. Before, society didn't even notice you, and now it fears you. Post-war British teens, used to seeking their identity in youth cults, perfectly understood the social life of Alex and his identically dressed droogs. In young Alex, every British youth who ever wore the uniform of a teenage tribe could glimpse his own reflection.
And I vidied right at once what to do.
My crude, irrational view is that there's something about this island culture which has produced the most violent people I've ever seen, where violence is at the heart of the culture. It's in the sort of the day-to-day bits of the culture. It's in the pub, it's in the street, it's in a traffic jam, it's in how males deal with each other. And to that extent, I would say the film isn't British, but it's English. And it captures something about that particular island sensibility of the boastful, bloated, beer-drinking, violent male, who's such a special feature of the culture here.
Cram criminals together and what do you get? Concentrated criminality. Crime in the midst of punishment.
An alien government, desperate for the law and order vote, are endorsing a radical aversion therapy. Ludovico's technique will turn the likes of Alex from free-thinking little bastard to programmed goody-goody, an automaton who is incapable of evil.
Best dealt with on a purely curative basis. Kill the criminal reflex, that's all. Full implementation in a year's time. Punishment means nothing to them, you can see that. They enjoy their so-called punishment.
You're absolutely right, sir.
Shut your bleeding hole! Who said that?
I did, sir.
What crime did you commit?
The accidental killing of a person, sir.
He brutally murdered a woman, sir, in furtherance of theft. 14 years, sir!
Excellent. He's enterprising, aggressive, outgoing, young, bold, vicious. He'll do.
I think it's essential to remind people the distance that we've traveled since 1972, because the film is a horror comic allegory about the enormous potential for social control. And if anything has happened in the 21 years since that film came out, it's been the increasingly authoritarian view of life in this country that a government, by nature a conservative government for the last umpteen years, has taken, and the ways in which the individual is controlled.
It was the next day, brothers, and I had truly done my best morning and afternoon to play it their way and sit like a horror show cooperative malchick in the chair of torture while they flashed nasty bits of ultra-violence on the screen. Though not on the soundtrack, my brothers, the only sound being music. Then I noticed, in all my pain and sickness, what music it was that, like, cracked and boomed. It was Ludwig van. Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement.
You know, I don't actually think that Alex is necessarily a bad boy. He is a creative boy. And the crux of the film is, if you cure the creative at the same time, to knock out the neurosis or to knock out the violence, will you also knock out the genius? So it's a kind of dilemma.
Any questions?
Choice. The boy has no real choice, has he?
Brainwashed so that he can't even contemplate a dirty deed, Alex is put on public display, docile evidence of the government's tough stand on crime.
He ceases to be a wrongdoer. He ceases also to be a creature capable of moral choice.
Padre, these are subtleties. We're not concerned with motives, with a higher ethics. We are concerned only with cutting down crime.
I think the message is relevant today and should be seen by people. It's a terrific way of getting across that crisis that so often we read about in the papers, politicians trying to find some new way of getting an advantage or edge, and sometimes individuals' rights and responsibilities being trampled underfoot in part of that. Whether that particular issue, the behavioural sciences response to criminality, is still topical today, I very much doubt, but it's a metaphor, and it works.
What's really frightening and really dangerous is the suggestion that I think someone would make now, if they were to make the film, that it's not social conditioning, it's not the environment, you cannot control it, it's there, unequivocal, unstoppable, biological, absolute.
The film A Clockwork Orange ends with Alex triumphant, back to his old ways, brainwashed again by a government facing a storm of bad publicity for its repressive measures. Alex has escaped the clutches of imposed goodness, and he rejoices. Rejoices.
night. I'm singing in the rain.
But Kubrick's film didn't tell the whole story, because it seems he didn't know the whole story. The director did not shoot all of the book because, according to Anthony Burgess, he had not read all of the book. There have always been two different versions of the novel A Clockwork Orange. In the British edition, there were 21 chapters, but only 20 chapters appeared in the American edition. In the chapter that Kubrick forgot, Alex starts to yearn for love and peace, a wife and child.
Perhaps I was getting too old for the sort of Jeesney I'd been leading, brother. At 18, old Wolfgang Amadeus had written concertos and symphonies and all that cow. No, not cow, heavenly music. And now I felt this bolshy big hollow inside my plot. I knew what was happening, oh my brothers. I was like growing up. Youth must go, ah yes. But youth is only being like, it might be an animal. No, it's not just like being an animal so much as being like one of those Malenki toys. You wind it up and it bangs straight into things, bang, bang, and it cannot help what it is doing. When I had my son, I would explain all that to him. But then I knew he would not understand, or would not want to understand, and would do all the veshes I had done. Yes, perhaps even killing some poor starry Farella, and I would not be able to really stop him. And nor would he be able to stop his own son, brothers. And so it would itty on to like the end of the world, round and round and round.
It would have given a personal resolution to an odyssey about an individual's life, but I don't think the film is really about that. It's about the manipulation that politicians bring whenever there's an issue that they feel that they can use to get elected. In that sense, I think he was right. In the film, it would have struck a jarring note. It would have found a resolution as far as Alex was concerned, but then we're not really with Alex in the last scene in the film. We're with the politicians, and we're with the press, and we're with the media. It wouldn't have worked.
By losing that last chapter and failing to show Alex outgrowing his wicked ways, A Clockwork Orange became the most vivid picture ever of teenagers acting out their basest desires, totally without conscience. And that is why teenagers loved it. A Clockwork Orange will almost certainly remain unavailable in the country that inspired it. Yet it's freely available, just a ferry ride away. And while it's madness that a brilliant film by a serious director should be banned, while the video emporiums are groaning under the weight of cynical trash, it's always worth remembering. The film is banned in Britain not by the law, and not by the censor, and not by the prissy guardians of morality. A Clockwork Orange is banned in Britain by the American who made it.
I think it's a great film. I think it's one of the most important films ever made in this country. I think it confirmed Kubrick as the most important film director of the post-war years. And my regret is that, for reasons that are personal to himself, he hasn't found it possible to let the film be seen where it should be seen, which is on the widescreen, the large screen of the cinema in this country. I've told him on several occasions when we meet, I said, Stanley, this is a mistake, because the film is a document that belongs to the public view.
The film sets out to celebrate violence, and it doesn't pull its punches, it celebrates violence. It says, you can treat violence like a work of art, you can treat violence like a work of music, you can delight in violence in the same way. That's an amoral position. That's quite a strong starting position from which to make a film. And to withdraw from that, I think, is cowardice. To withdraw from that is to show that he doesn't have the strength of his convictions. That actually, having created this thing, he then got frightened by what he created.
But if Stanley Kubrick will not let the British see A Clockwork Orange, then he should at least have the moral courage to explain this decision. As Alex would have it, it's time to show us your yarballs, Mr. Kubrick. Brother, if you have any yarballs. A Clockwork Orange is too good to be buried alive. It's a comic masterpiece, brilliant social prophecy, and a dazzling exposition of the adolescent mentality. And As a lost generation of teenagers will testify, it's also about how good it sometimes feels to be bad.